Nick, you got to get me to the hospital, And he's all like, what's going on? And I'm like, something's wrong, something's wrong. And the front desk of the hotel, they're like, is something wrong? We're going to call 911. And they're all trying to hold me down, saying they're going to call 911 and stuff. And I'm like, F911, get me to the goddamn hospital, dude. And I threw I grabbed him by his shirt. I pulled him. I said, give me the hospital, And he was like, okay. And so we jump in the car and we haul ass. And all I remember is driving extremely fast and running lights because I was screaming, I'm fucking dying.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my podcast. I have been away for some time due to a separation. So I do apologize for being MIA, but I do want to thank each and every one of you who have been supportive along my journey. I really do appreciate you all. So I will be changing my podcast name from Natalie Higgins to Natalie Rustic. And so there is going to be a few changes to the channel, but I am so very excited to be back. And today's guest is actually someone I found off the Jeff Mara podcast. Now, we've been friends for quite some time. His name is Darrin Shinabargar. He did have a huge aorta dissection and he did have a massive bleed, and he is very lucky and so blessed to even be here today speaking with you all and sharing his experience. So without further ado, I welcome you, Darrin.
My name is Darrin Shinabargar, and I am with Natalie, and I'm going to share my near-death experience that I had roughly 4.5 years ago. And before I kick this off, I want to stress right from the start, my story and my testimony is not to convert or convince anybody of anything. I'm strictly sharing my own experience because it was profound, it was life-changing, and I feel that I'm supposed to share this story with people because, I just feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. And I appreciate that people like Natalie do what they do to help get our voices out because there's no instructions with this life. And we all have questions. And I don't even know if I have all the answers, but I do have an experience that shifted my whole way of thinking and my life. So I'm going to share my story now. So it was May. I can tell you the date exactly. It was May 13th, 2018. I'm going to take a drink. Hold on. And I was in the car business. I'll just give you some backup story real quick too myself, and I'm going to be raw and be honest. I lived a pretty wild life. I like to self-medicate. I did most of my life on any substance, and I had various jobs throughout my life. But I got into the car business, and I actually found my niche, and I was very good at it, and I enjoyed it, and I was making a lot of money at the time, and worked a lot of hours. That being said, I was always on the go, and I was chasing paper, and then I'd go out and party afterwards. I'd get these big commission checks, and it was just, I was living high on the hog. For example, I had people who used to call me Hollywood just because of the way I live, Anyways, so it was Mother's Day 2018, and I was winning. I was in the lead of my sales force. I was number one, and I had several cars out, and I got my first commission check. It was a nice one. Anyways, to speed this up to get to where I'm saying, so I'm not talking too much about that. It was a normal day. I had no idea what was in store for me. So I went home, and a friend of mine had come by, and my son's mother and him weren't there, but my friend came by, and oh yeah, let me back up. I borrowed a car from work because she was supposed to come get me, didn't. But anyways, I borrowed a car from work, and it was a really nice Dodge Challenger SRT8. It was a 2016. It had the 6.2, and it was a badass car. So, anyways, my friend came by, and he was like, check out the car. I'm like, he wanted to go out. He was, let's go to the casino. I'm like, okay, So we go to the casino. We're partying, and I've been on a good one for a while. Anyways, we go to the casino. We hit 2 jackpots, and my buddy, I remember he told me that he was like, you're the luckiest dude in the world. And I was like, I know, man. It was just a good time in my life, I was thinking. However, I didn't see a lot of my family at the time because I was either at work or I was partying. Anyways, I hit 2 jackpots, and we went to leave. I ran into an old girlfriend, and we were back to her place, right down the street from there. Anyways, out of nowhere, I feel like someone hit me right in the chest with a sword, and I'm like, bam, and I'm like, oh shit, and it doubled me over, and sorry, the person I'm with thought I was playing around, and they're trying to, like, quit playing around. I'm like, I'm serious, man, something's wrong, and it was crippling me over. I'm like, oh shit. And it was weird. It felt like someone hit me right in the chest with a sword and started pulling down, right? So I'm like, I threw her off me. I'm like, I gotta get to the hospital, and I take off running down this hall, and I'm like looking for my friend, and he was moving my car at the time, but I caught him, and I'm like, Nick, you gotta get me to the hospital, and he's all like, what's going on? And I'm like, something's wrong. And the front desk of the hotel, they're like, is something wrong? We're gonna call 911, and they're all trying to hold me down, say they're gonna call 911 and stuff, and I'm like, F 911, get me to the goddamn hospital, dude. And I threw and I grabbed him by his shirt. I pulled him. I said, give me the hospital, and he was like, okay. And so we jump in the car, and we haul ass. And all I remember is driving extremely fast and running lights because I was screaming, I'm fucking dying, So we get to the hospital, and we pull right up to the ER. And I remember the car, we power slide because he's like, what? We were hauling ass. And I went to get out, and my legs didn't work anymore. And I hit my head like hard on the concrete because I went to get out, and my body, half my body stayed, Yeah. And about that time is when I couldn't, I realized that I was like, every time I tried to talk, it was like there was a huge vacuum over my mouth that was sucking the air out of me, like I was like, I'm trying to say, every time I talked, I was like, and I'm like, I'm dying, and he's like, no, you're not. And I remember he jumps up, and he's like, my friend's dying out here, somebody get out here. And he came back over to me, and I was like, I told you I'm dying. And he's like, no, hold on, don't die. And they picked me up, and they threw me on this stretcher. And all of a sudden I have nurses, doctors, everyone's around me, and they're cutting my clothes off, and I got my cell phone and stuff on me, and I last thing I could really remember was I handed my stuff to my friend Nick, and I was like, they're trying to roll me off and hold me down. And I was like, get a hold of my family, and I was like, my son was only 5 at the time, okay. And I wanted my son my whole life. So, that was like in my mind, like, not my boy, I'm going to lose, And I was like, tell my son I'll be back. And they're rolling me away, right? So as they're rolling me down this, down to the operating room or whatever, I remember him saying, code blue, where he's code blue. He's coding, code blue. That means you're dying. We have someone that's dying. And I wake up, and it was 4 weeks later, and I've been in a coma. Okay. And there was some worm tunneling that happened during this too. Okay. I'm going to go back to my near-death experience. I'm just kind of telling you what happened. And what happened was, I found out was I had an aortic dissection. It was an aneurysm on the top of your heart, and it was an aneurysm that blew, and your aorta is your main vessel that goes to all your other organs and extremities and everything. And it blew at the very top, and it ripped all the way down to my groin. They said it was the worst aorta dissection they'd ever seen. A matter of fact, I'm a case study at the hospital now for like med students and stuff because
Wow,
it was so
incredible.
profound. Now, don't let me forget it, because there's some very important stuff about this procedure that's going to kind of lay hand in hand with what I'm going to kind of talk about. So I had the dissection. I didn't know what happened. I just remember waking up to my mom's face, and she was like, "You know what happened to you?" And I was like, "Am I in trouble?" That's all I could think, because I remember driving real fast, and then whatever. So I had to have this is how severe it was. I don't know how many transfusions I had, blood transfusions. I had a lot. Like, there was over like 17 bags, my mom said at one time, that was pumping into me of blood
At one
because I had lost
time.
so much blood. Yeah.
Wow.
They had to freeze my brain to keep it from needing blood, because your brain needs blood and it takes a lot of blood. So they froze my brain. And the doctor that did the surgery, I guess, he had just scrubbed out. He'd done it, and he had to scrub back in, and he did the surgery. Okay, and there's something really important about this doctor too that was really bizarre. It just ties everything together. So I had this that aneurysm, and they didn't think I was going to make it, and they told my family, we don't know if he's going to. It's a 50-50, really, if he's going to pull through this. He went through a horrific surgery. We just So they made my family get my affairs in order in case I didn't pull through. And they said if he does pull through, because of the trauma he had to his brain, a very, very good chance he would possibly be a vegetable or have some severe mental, problems. And sometimes my speech gets kind of messed up when I talk a little bit, but no one else seems to say they notice it. I do, and I'm trying to say stuff. I'll kind of get freezed when I get going on something. But anyway, it's okay. I mean, for what they were expecting, I came out pretty damn good, really. And they didn't know if I'd walk again, right? They didn't know if I was going to be able to walk again. So hearing all that news was just crazy, to find out that I came out of the coma. I had a trach because I was having like weird delusions, and I was violent when they would try to wake me up. And I woke up one time, I was tied to a bed and stuff. It was crazy. But anyways, I won't go into all that right now. But after I could talk again, because after I came out of the coma, I had about 2 weeks that I had this trach, so I couldn't talk to nobody. I couldn't communicate, but I wanted to, and it was really bizarre. But once I went to speech therapy, got to talk again, I got to call my friend, right? And tell him I wanted to thank him, and she got me to the fucking hospital. Thank you, man. I'm sorry I cussed. I don't know if is it okay if I cuss on here?
Yeah, I don't really hide much. That's fine.
I call my buddy, and I'm like, hey, Nick, hey, Tom, basically, thanks for getting me to the hospital. And he's like, man, no problem, dude. And he was like, dude, you got to tell me what happened. And then I was like, well, you know what happened. I thought everybody knows what happened. I've been here for freaking 5 weeks now, or 6 weeks. What are you talking about? He's like, no, dude, something happened when they took you away from me at the hospital. I said, you don't remember anything? And I'm like, I'm kind of like, what? And he's like, bro, when they wheeled you away, he goes, they were rolling you down that cart, and he was like, they're yelling code blue. And then he goes, you were screaming for your dad. Do you remember that? You're like, where's my dad? Where's my dad? And I was like, oh, yeah, wow. And he's like, then you were like, you started screaming, holy shit, I'm with Satan. I'm with Satan. Get me out of here. I'm with Satan. And then he said, you screamed so loud, Jesus, save me. And he said, I'm going to tell you, bro, when I heard that, it felt like the entire hospital went dead silent. And he said just a chill came over him, and he was like, it freaked me out. And I ran back there to see. I thought maybe he died. I didn't know, and they wouldn't let me come back there. And and he goes, I didn't. I was just freaked out. He was like, something was going on. And as soon as he told me that, oh my God, man. Now, sometimes I get emotional when I talk about this, so bear with me. But all the memories came flooded back to me, you know, and I couldn't even talk to him. And I remember I handed my phone to I don't remember who was there. I think my mother was there. But I was like, I can't talk to him. And every time I tried to tell somebody what was going on, I just bawled because it came back. My memory came back so clear. Oh, it's so crazy. It came back so clear that I couldn't talk to anybody, man. And every time I tried to say what happened, it was like it just broke me down. And anyways, um, so here's what happened basically. My dad died a year before that, roughly about 9 months before this happened. And I knew that I was crossing over. I was leaving my body. I could feel my energy leaving my body. I can't explain it. It's a weird feeling. I was crossing over into like dimensions. Another I can't even put this into words because it's so hard. I guess the best way to be would be like hanging your head over a dock, and sticking your head in the water in the two worlds. Maybe that's a good way, you know. But you could breathe in the water and look around. That's kind of what I was I guess. It's even stranger than that, really. But anyways, I was crossing over, and all of a sudden everything went black on me, and I'm like, I'm dead. And I remember thinking, where the hell am I? Am I alive or dead? I thought I'm dead. And everything was black, and it was so freaking cold. Everything was so cold, you know. And I don't know why I said I see Satan. I don't remember seeing Satan at all. I don't.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was not in a good place. I was in a dark void. Oh, and here's something really important too. There was this magnetic, like black tar that I could see everywhere, and it was dripping. I could hear it splatting, like going. And I was like, "What the hell?" And there was this dark. There was an energy there that was so strong of a negative freaking energy that is like, imagine all the G-force, like when you get on a roller coaster and you hit that dip.
Yeah.
That's just a minute feeling because I was like, oh, I just felt like I was getting pushed down. Okay, so it was that black goo that was going in. It was just a real negative thing, and I remember thinking I was in the world's sin, like the evil of the world, the muck, the sewage of emotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like just maybe it was my own. I don't know. Maybe it was
Do
the
you
world.
think,
I don't know. But it was.
sorry to cut you off, I just wanted to mention, do you think that dark goo, icky thickness is like all of the negative emotions that we humans have had that have just kind of, because energy can't be destroyed or created, it just gets transmuted. You think that all that negative energy is just what that was, possibly?
I think so. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't know if that was just my own that I created or was it the world's? Probably the world's. I don't think I've been that bad of a person.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have that much bad because I was scared. The fear I felt there was horrific. Okay. Because like I said, I wasn't on the bed anymore. I was like, I went from being horizontal to vertical feeling. Okay. Like, and I don't know if I was like standing or floating. I don't know, but I just knew where I was at and I had to get out of there. Okay. That's all I could think was, holy crap, I got to get out of here. I mean, and I was terrified. And oh yeah, when I was calling for my dad, he didn't come. I never saw my dad. Okay. So I'm just being real. I wish I could say I saw my grandmother and my father and anybody that's passed. I didn't see any friends, okay, that I had here on earth. I didn't see anybody like that. But at that moment when I was in that negative thing, the only thing I could think was I just said, Jesus, save me. And I remembered once, I mean, I can remember that now, screaming, Jesus, save me. And
Wow.
right then, this spark popped up in the middle of my eye, like right here. And it was like someone lit a piece of paper, like if you lit tissue on, like tissue paper with a lighter, you know how
Yeah.
fast it goes. That's how it just went. Everything I could see, and I was engulfed in this white light, like this white presence energy that just pushed all that darkness out. And I was surrounded by this light, and my gosh, I felt like I peed my pants. Okay, I just this warmth came over my entire soul, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm safe. I didn't know where I was at, but I knew I was safe. I made it. That's what I was thinking. I made it. Oh my God, thank you, God, thank you. I made it. I made it, right? And I was like, and I remember like thinking, just kind of like looking around like in awe. And as I looked into the light, there was so weird. There was really depth to this light. If you can imagine what I'm trying to say, as I looked into it, I could see deep. And in the light, where all of a sudden I could see these other lights that were morphing. They were like moving around, and I was like, "What is that?" And there was these colors that were they were the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. They were the most beautiful colors that I've ever seen in my life, and I can't tell you what they look like. I can't even describe the colors because they're not in the rainbow spectrum, but they're colors. Our eyes can only see, the rainbow, that
Yeah.
spectrum. I don't know. I don't know if they were ultraviolet in that spectrum or ultra red. I mean, what's the red one called? The infrared. I don't
Infrared,
know
yeah.
what spectrum it was. Yeah, I don't know what spectrum, but all I know is there was a multitude of them, and they were beautiful. And I remember there was metallic colors, and as I looked at these colors, I realized those are souls. Those are people. It had faces, and I, they, oh my God, and they were so beautiful, and I've never seen beauty to this degree. And everybody was different. Every color was a different person, and some people had other. There was multiple colors in them, but they were so beautiful, and they had faces, and I didn't recognize anybody. I knew every person there, and I was just like, oh my God, my people, I'm here, and they were like glad to see me too. I was like, but there was no words being exchanged. There was no words, but I knew exactly. And think about this too: if in the afterlife, in heaven, if it gets rid of wickedness, well, what is the wicked? One of the most wicked things, our tongue. What we say
Oh, interesting.
is is full of deceit. You can lie, you can cheat, you can be something, but in this realm, there was no communication like that. So you could only be authentic. That was it. So that was the
Wow.
beauty. And then every being there had its own beauty there. And right then, that's when I realized, well, after I realized that here on it was the beauty that God, our Creator, intended us to have. That the world, the world lies to you and tells us that we dilute, that we neglect, and we don't realize because we are in this three-dimensional physical world, and we think our outer looks, and we don't even allow people to grow old gracefully. People are like, oh, they're just old, whatever. Let me tell you, we all go through it. No one's going to get around it. And but that beauty on the inside, that light, the light that's behind every smile, and I don't care how ugly you are, if you smile, there's a light. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It's
know
even
exactly that.
now
Yeah.
there's a wicked smile too, but I'm just saying, just that joy, and joy would be one of the most. profound, not happiness, it was joy that was concealed there. So, anyways, let me get back to my story here. But that's the beauty of it was the oh man, there's so many things I've learned along the way too. That well, we'll go into all that later. But I'm telling my story now. Keep me on path, Natalie. Okay. Okay. Me and Natalie, we can get going, can't we? Huh?
All
Okay.
right.
So it's hey, you know what? I like doing this because we've talked so much, and now I feel I can really. Uh, Other times I felt on stage when I've done other podcasts, so I don't feel like I deliver correctly, but I'm real comfortable with you, so that's really sweet. So
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am.
Oh, anytime. You're very welcome.
You're awesome. You're so awesome. I just love you. Okay. Anyways, where was I?
Okay, so
Aw.
you were talking about I'll get you back on track, sir. You were up to
Okay,
the
get me back
beautiful
on track.
beings. Their beauty was unlike
Okay.
anything you've seen. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So, and I'm real happy where I'm at. Okay, I'm really cool with where I'm at, and I'm cool with staying up there. But at that time, then all of a sudden, this white light being, and it wasn't a shadow figure with a white light around it. No, this was like another whiter light that came out from the depths of it, and it was really tall. I'm 6'5", and it stood like higher than me, so I like was looking up at it like this. And I don't remember any face. I don't know if that was Jesus. I don't know if it was an angel. I don't know if it was. I don't know what it was. It was just something that was very.
Could you kind of
It
describe
had.
like was it feminine? Was it masculine? Did it have wings?
It
Was
didn't.
it
It,
like
it didn't have. I couldn't tell you either way. It hadn't didn't have. There, I didn't see wings. It was just a silhouette of like a human figure, but it was all light. So there was
wow.
nothing to see, and it had the presence of unconditional love. That's the best way I can say it. I don't know if it's female or male or masculine or female. That wasn't even going through my head. I just was like, but as soon as I looked up at it, my son's life, my life, but my son's life went by like this without me. And I
Wow.
remembered I wanted to be a father for so long. And I told you I raised those three stepkids too, and I love them with all my heart. And to be able to have somebody call me dad is like the best sound in my ears. It's the most beautiful sound of my ears. Like, oh, dad, Now my other kids never call me dad. They call me D. For
Mm.
I was their stepdad, and they love me, but just that sound. So, anyways, when I looked up to him, it was like his life, my with that or mine. It wouldn't have been mine, but I guess I just saw that go past me like this so quick, and I remember it like sent me back in reality, and I was like, "Don't take me yet, no, please don't, not yet. I don't, not yet." And I woke up, and boom, I was there. Now, I want to reflect on a few things, okay? And I don't know if I shared them in my other podcast, but here's the profound stuff. Okay, also that was profound, right? Here's one thing I think about when I think about God timing. Okay, God's impeccable timing, Father time, God. Okay, and if you even know anything about the Bible, people want to say, okay, Moses split the sea. Well, we think it was because at this certain time blah blah blah, and the waters will part there because this event's happening on Earth. Well, that might be, but it was God's timing. God told Moses, "Take your people to the wilderness, and I will provide a a very large sacrifice." And Moses tells Pharaoh that he's like, God says I have to take my people on this journey, and he's going to provide an ultimate sacrifice. He had no idea what it was. Okay, and then he split the sea, right? And Pharaoh's army went in there and he closed it in. That's
Yeah.
like a massive sacrifice. Okay. So, anyways, I'm not trying to get on the Bible. And like I said, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just saying when I think about biblical stuff and tie it to my own life, God's timing is very important. And that's where I see it in my story. That's very important. Um, so, where was I going with that?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me back up because I got on the Bible thing. I wasn't supposed to do that
Yeah,
anyway,
so
or necessarily.
you wanted to reiterate some key points that you hadn't shared before that were important to you.
Yeah, yeah, and there was okay. Well, when I went to the hospital, I told you that the doctor there um, was the only doctor that's in this area that was um, skilled enough to do this type of extensive aorta dissection. Okay,
Yeah.
this isn't something that somebody's done a few of them that they can handle. This had to be somebody that was highly trained and done several of them. Well, there was only one, and he was normally in St. Luke's. He just happened to be doing a rotation at North Kansas City Hospital, where I went because I was I was literally 2 minutes away from there when this happened. That's how I got there so quick. I should have been dead.
Yeah.
They were like and every doctor would come in and be like, you do know you're a miracle, right? Like, just for me to be able to get from the hotel to there, if I would have called and let them call an ambulance, I'd be dead. There was no way.
Yeah, because
Was that much.
it dissected from like here to your groin. It's incredible that you didn't just bleed out and die instantly.
Well, yeah, just think about it. So your blood's just pumping and it's not going to where it needs to go. It's just going. Okay, it's just
Yeah.
going everywhere in your blood. It's just
Yeah.
so nothing's getting blood. And they said, you were literally moments from death. I mean, seconds, where could have been everything. So, anyways, that doctor just happened to be there that day, and he just scrubbed out. Like I told you, he was getting ready to go home, and I showed up, and he scrubbed back in and did an 11-hour surgery. Okay,
Incredible.
to keep me together. Here's the other thing was after I came out of the hospital or after I came out of the coma, and like the chief surgeon would come in there and they're like, everybody, the nurses, the ICU, they took care of me. Everybody was just like, I was like amazed. They were just all freaked out because I pulled through it. That was one thing. None of them actually thought I was going to, because it was so bad. And even to be like talking like this is like a total miracle.
Yeah, I bet.
And I had doctors from other hospitals coming to see me to see this, like, because I shouldn't be alive. This wasn't like, there's other people that survived aorta dissections, but one like this is so unlikely. It's not even funny. Okay,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Okay, so so the chief surgeon came down and he told me personally. I watched Dr. Allen, Dr. Keith Allen, do the surgery. He said, I want to tell you, it was like he had divine intervention. That's what he said. He said I never seen an operation so orchestrated so beautifully. And he goes, and I know you probably wouldn't understand what I'm trying to say, but the way this man, he goes, it was like he had divine help. That's what a surgeon told me, the chief surgeon. Okay, surgeons don't talk like that. They're very egotistical people. They're usually like, they get a God complex because they save lives every day. So, and then when I went to do a follow up with my chief, with the guy that did the surgery on me, I remember my first time I saw him, and after I got out of the hospital, and he came in, and I was like, the man with the magic hands, and he was like, "Whoa, hey, buddy," he goes, don't be thinking me. You need to be thinking the guy upstairs, because I don't know how we're talking right now." He's like, it's just, but I'm glad we are. I'm glad you are. So those are the things of God's timing, just everything. Like me having to be that close to that hospital, that doctor was right there. Everything kind of played into it the way it should. Everything had to, so many things had to fall in exact line for me to be alive. So
Can
many
I
things.
ask you something? Do you think that because of your past life, being a partier, having a bit of a wild life beforehand, do you feel like
Uh,
on your life's blueprint, possibly that you were supposed to have this experience in order to kind of wake up spiritually?
I think, okay, I've had a lot of things in my life that have been trying to wake me up spiritually,
Yeah.
but I would stay numb to it. And I'd get real high and I'd think I was being a little spiritual because I'd be on a good one and I'd be thinking and all this. And I realized, man, that's so superficial. That's so of the dark side. It's not real. You know, when you're thinking you have to take medicine to get, that's what's crazy is we don't have to take psychedelics. Yeah, they'll enhance that, but I'm telling you, you're not opening up the correct channels. It's not the right realm.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
Mm.
stepping into a spiritual realm. It ain't the right one. You can do that completely sober. So yeah, and oh, and these worm tunnels I had too. Okay, because I when I woke up from my here's some other odd things I want to tell you that I've really been having some weird stuff about reincarnation. I don't know if it's real, but I don't think so. But then I do. I don't know. But anyways,
Mm. It's good to be
uh,
a healthy skeptic about these things.
yeah, I have to be open to it, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you why I'm having these things, and this will make sense. I weren't so after I woke up and I realized I'd been in a coma. I remember I would worm tunnel. Okay, after all that happened, and I told you I was in the white light and stuff, I didn't just wake up to my mom. I remember worm tunneling. Okay, and weird lights and stuff went by, and boom, I was somewhere. This is so bizarre. I was somewhere in downtown Kansas City, and I was at this house. It was an apartment complex, right?
Mm.
And I'm in like a studio apartment. And I'm like, where the hell am I? And there's this man in a t-shirt, like a white t-shirt and blue jeans, and he has his back to me and he's packing a suitcase. And I'm like, where the hell am I? And I'm looking at everything, and everything has kind of a retro look to it, like 50s, early 60s, late 50s
Yeah.
look, like that real ugly green and uh, pastel yellows and whatever. You know, the furniture with all
Yeah.
metals and stuff. You know, and I'm like, where the hell am I? And all of a sudden, I hear my dad's voice, and he's like, well, you did it again, son. And I was like, Dad? And he turned around, and it was my dad, and he was really young. He was
Wow.
like in his early 20s, and I didn't know my dad. My dad had me when he was 35, but he's really young, and he's like, when are you going to stop doing this shit to your mother? And I was like, what? And it was like, he goes, when are you going to stop fucking with your mother like this? And I was like, oh, man, I know, I'm sorry. And he said, you want to know why you do this? And I was like, I don't remember what I said. He's like, because Darrin does what Darrin wants, and he doesn't give a shit about any consequences or how it affects anybody else. Now I want you to
Yeah.
get your shit together and go back and take care of your kid, like, and be the man your dad taught you how to be. And he shut his suitcase and walked out. And I'm
Incredible.
like, what the hell? Okay, so it gets weird. Then I went worm tunneling again, right?
Yeah.
And this time I wake up and I'm like, boom, and I'm all of a sudden I'm in a war zone. And I'm like, where the fuck am I? And I'm hearing battle cries and screams. And I can smell burnt flesh and burnt hair, and people are screaming. And I'm seeing the lights in the sky all lit up. And I look over, and there's my dad, and he's in like old, like Civil War, like 1700s or civil, like our Civil War over in America. You know, the
Yeah.
fatigues, like old and muskets and stuff.
Yeah.
And my older brother, and my brother is making these lead balls, and he's heating it up, and he's putting them in water and stacking them. And my dad would take a ball and stick it in there,
And that's the
and I'm
old
like sitting
fashioned
there,
bullets, isn't it? That they shove in the
right,
barrel. Yeah. Okay.
right, right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I look down, and I'm in like new fatigues, and they look like they've been out there for a while. And my dad hits me, and he's like, "Boy, you better get this shooting. You're gonna get your head blow off, or whatever." And he jumps up, and he has this big thing. He's like, "Boom!" And we fall back down. And I'm like, "What the hell?" And I worm tunnel again. Okay, so and I tell you that, and I told my mom all this stuff. Okay, when I came to, like, man, but this is before Nick told me about what happened. But I'm like, I have these weird visions.
Yeah.
So my mom goes, do you remember what the place looked like that you saw your dad? And I told her, I said, yeah, it had a big front porch. And when you walked in, there was an apartment on the left, and I can remember an apartment on the right. And then you went back, and there was a staircase. And my mom, she was like, now I knew my mom and dad met at a roller rink, okay, but I didn't know much. She said, when I met your father, he was living with his friend Bob down in downtown Kansas City by the roller rink, and that sounds exactly like the house he lived in.
Wow.
And I said, was it the apartment if you're facing it on the left side in the front? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like,
Oh,
whoa. And and that's right before he left for the army. And I
wow.
was like, I wonder if he was packing his bags, getting ready to go to the army the first time he got drafted. He was in the army with Elvis Presley, by the way.
Wow, that's
Weird.
incredible. And it's pretty
Yeah, he
cool.
knew Elvis Presley.
I'm a life path number 9 like
But,
Elvis Presley. I don't know if that means anything. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah. So, and then, so that's why I say, like, was I worm tunneling? So I've had this thing, I feel like our timeline is on like a tape measure. And
Mm.
when we are born, it's pulled out. So we're following along this tape measure. And when you die, that time comes all back. So it's all happening at once. But even
Wow.
though we see it as time laid out, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm like, do we live other lives? I don't know. Or is that cell memory inside me of like my ancestors, and I just put it in my head like that? I don't know, but I know that was kind of
Yeah.
weird
That is
parts of it.
incredible.
And then I also had really weird dreams that were like distorted, weird dreams that didn't make sense. I'm not going to try to explain those now because they're like dreams. You know how dreams are like
Yeah.
they're good for like the first 10 minutes after you wake up, and then you try to tell somebody, and you're like, oh, no, I was watering I was watering the bed, and I was eating lettuce that was in the you're like, I don't even know. And then I had these turnips growing up out of my head. I don't know, but it was kind of weird. So yeah,
I will
so
ask you
that's fine.
this.
You're dead. Yeah,
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. That was absolutely incredible. I'm really drawn to the fact
yeah.
that you saw colors that you haven't ever seen before. Like, I can't even imagine
That
I can't think of
that was
other
the.
colors.
I know. That's why. I mean, when I tried to tell somebody, I said that's the most frustrating thing about my story, is I can't compare. That was one of the most beautiful parts of the whole bit, and trying to explain to people the beauty of it and the beauty of the people. And I mean, I see people totally different now. And we've talked.
Mm.
I see people different, and I can see and not on everybody at all times, but sometimes when I see like different souls, they're that light comes out of them, and I can see them, and
Yeah.
like you have one, and I've told you about it. Um,
Yeah.
my mom has a really profound one, and there's people that I see stuff, and another thing I was gonna say, we read like what those colors mean.
Yeah.
That might be, but I realized one day too. I was like, that's worldly. I don't know
Mm.
none of us know what those colors really mean. That's just
Yeah.
somebody's opinions that they put to that. So I don't put too much into what our auras mean and this and that anymore. I just
What I
know that
think
we
you
are
could do,
light.
and sorry to cut you off. I just want to have a thought. I need to
Yeah,
say it before I forget. But when you
do it.
see these auras on people, rather than kind of Googling what they mean, try and think of the feeling that you feel when you see them. And that would be more of the truth behind what that means to you. So if you see a beautiful aura or like,
Amen.
what do you feel? Yeah.
Amen. Amen. And
Mm.
sometimes I can see like colors that I can tell that someone's going through something, and I don't even have to talk to them. I just know that there's something going on with
Yeah.
them that's out there colors that are they're okay. So they might be still beautiful colors, but they're a different shine, a different glow in a sense. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So, and I think everybody has that capability. You just have to tap into it to see that,
Well, I
and you
have
just have to
learned a lot of that.
get there.
I have
Mm-hmm.
learned that even psychics say that we all have these abilities. It doesn't take an NDE to get there. It's more so just kind of understanding, going within, meditating, and really learning to feel other senses rather than the five senses that we're so tuned to.
Right, right,
So, yeah, I
right.
want to learn. I definitely want to learn.
Yeah. Well, we do have the um, it's godlike.
Yeah.
We were made in God's image, and I have to say one thing too. I do believe in the Bible. I do
Yeah.
believe I'm a hardcore Christian now. I definitely strayed away from that and was not living that world, and I questioned it. I still have moments where I still do,
I'm very much the
but
same. Yeah.
yeah, and that's natural. That's okay. That'd be ridiculous if we didn't. That's
Mm.
just following blindly. I've read the Bible a lot. Ever since this happened, I've read a lot of it. Um, and that's another thing. I was like, we say there's a lot of stuff we need to know is right there. But I called out one name, and everything changed.
Yeah.
I called out one name, and the whole scenario changed. That's
That's
all I can
right.
say. And I'm not here to convert nobody or say anything, but I was dying. I was leaving my body,
Yeah.
and I was given another chance. I guess my time was not necessarily up.
Do you think that you were in hell or a hell-like place, or do you think you were
um,
on a layer of hell, possibly?
yeah, I know the Bible detects it as burning in hell. You might be right. It could be hell, a layer. I
Mm.
was in a dark void. If that was hell enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't even care about the burning stuff. I've ne- you know I've never felt the alone as I felt of that moment right there. I
Mm.
never felt so alone in my life. You
Yeah.
know, I, I I can't even compare it to maybe being a little kid and losing your mom at
At the like
the
at the
store or something.
supermarket, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Mm.
and you're like, oh my god, my world. No, I mean that can't even compare. But I was totally uh, I was freaked
Mm.
out.
Can
But
I
it sure has changed a lot of things.
can I ask you, it's changed you so much, obviously. Are you more spiritual or are you more, would you say, religious as a result of your experience?
I don't like religious at all.
Mm.
And if you read the Bible, Jesus didn't either, because that's mostly hypocrites.
Yeah.
But I don't like. I have to give credit where credit's due for me. For me, so I don't like to just say I'm spiritual. Yeah, I'm definitely spiritual, but I don't. But I do believe in a creator, and I understand the concept of why Jesus came and was crucified. Okay,
Mm.
what that actually means. I didn't understand that when I was young. I thought that was kind of well that. So why would that didn't make sense to me? So
Mm.
I had to go through a lot of this stuff, and then I had to realize, man, I need to read this stuff to actually make a good opinion, stuff. So there's just a lot of, and I read the Bible. I'm like, so that was written hundreds and thousands of years ago in
Yeah.
some ways, but there's the same issues that we all deal with today that people had to learn to deal with and get through, and you know what I mean.
Mm.
So, but I do I know that yeah, we make it so difficult here.
Yeah. Another
We really
important
do.
question that I really wanted to ask, and this is for all
Uh,
NDEs or all those who are struggling with the idea, how did you begin to tell someone about it? Because I could understand why you wouldn't want to tell anyone based on them thinking that you're a loony or, tell a doctor
yeah,
you went to this place, they would put you on psych meds. You know what I mean? So, how
yeah.
did you build the courage to talk about it? Or did it just come easy to
Well,
you?
okay. Well, I couldn't when I first had when my memory came back.
Mm.
I couldn't even get the story out for a week,
Mm.
or a good 2 days. I couldn't even get the story out. Every time I tried to tell my mom, anybody, I couldn't. I'd get back to, like, I was crying out, where's my dad?
Yeah.
I just, it was ridiculous. But I finally got past that, and I remember I was in the hospital, and the first time I shared the story was with a stranger in a waiting
Wow.
room. Okay, because I was in a wheelchair and I would get bored. Okay, this was probably, um, I'd already told my family, but the first time I told somebody outside of my close family,
Yeah.
and I would get bored and I'd get my wheelchair and wheel myself around. And I ran into a lady and their daughter, and we were just talking, and her mother was in critical care, and I don't even know what was going on. I forgot, but I told her my experience, and they both started bawling, crying, and that at that time it was just a few weeks old, so I could really deliver the
Yeah.
story. And I think one of the girls, the lady's daughter, was going through some stuff at her college, because
Mm.
I was telling her, and it really resonated when I was explaining about how our beauty is on the inside. Man, people have to understand this, that we 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 actually make ourselves uglier. We don't even realize that our real beauty is the light on the inside. I mean, I was just, but I was, and I don't even know what I said actually. I was just really delivering, like, God told me, showed me this thing, like, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. That's all I could think to everybody. Anybody that came in my room, I just thought, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And I was like this for a while. Okay, I really was.
Yeah.
It was kind of ridiculous. Like, I just wanted to hug and kiss somebody that was strangers and shit. Okay, but don't tell anybody. I really was. It was so funny, and it made them cry. And then I ran into him again, and the lady asked me if I'd go down and talk to her. If I would come to her college and speak to her women's Christian group.
Wow.
And I was like, sure, yeah, I will, but I got to learn how to walk and stuff first. And I lost their contact information through the going from hospitals and stuff, so I never
Yeah.
did.
Oh.
But I know that she told me later. She said that really helped her daughter. So that was the first time I was like, wow, man, that story, it helped her daughter. So she was going through something, that not feeling pretty about herself or not good enough. Because
Yeah.
really, you only have to be good enough for one person.
That's it.
Well, if you have children, it's going to be good for them, but that is for yourself, for God and yourself. That's it. And
You
if you
just
master
reminded
that,
me of something that I do. It's hard to share this. I don't know. I've had a lot of spiritual awakenings myself. I went through a
yes,
dark
I
night of
love
the
spiritual
soul.
walk.
Oh, people who think that spiritual awakenings are supposed to be positive and happy and good feelings, it's really not. It's actually dark, it's heavy, it's deep, it's
Yeah,
shedding of old beliefs
yeah,
and relearning new beliefs, or not even beliefs. Take belief out of it.
yeah,
You are at this point, you're empty and you're ready to renew your soul. And so I went through
yeah,
some pretty dark times, but right now on my phase, if I leave the house, I'm like, okay, who can I make smile today? Or I'll look someone in the eyes rather than
yeah,
look away. I'm not afraid to look at people now, because when you give your full
yeah,
attention and your full present self, you're changing lives. You
yeah,
you don't realize your own
yeah,
power when you give yourself to people. It's yeah,
yeah,
it's beautiful. Yeah. Thought I would
yeah.
share that.
One thing I should also share too, that and I haven't shared. I don't know if in other podcasts or not. Um, Now you would think after what I went through that my life would have just changed, and I would be walking a whole new walk, right?
Mm.
But this is how we work. I mean, how people work. Even through that, all right. And I came home, and man, I quit smoking. I smoked cigarettes for years. I vape a little bit, but it's real low key. But I haven't had a cigarette in a couple of years now. I don't smoke at all anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's nasty. I can't stand the smell of them. But when I came out, I was ready to take on the world. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back to sales, and I can't wait to do this. And then I went to go try to sell. Well, I have this I've got nerve damage in this one leg, so I kind of have a little bit of a limp, and I get tired easy. And I now I can bicycle like crazy, and I love to bicycle, but I can't. I can't stand for a long time and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So after a year of rehabilitating, I thought I could go back to work, and I tried to go back, and I just didn't. I had so much healing to do. I just thought, well, I can walk again. I can do this. I had so much healing to do inside also that I couldn't even see, and I was just making myself tired.
Yeah.
Well, then my gratefulness of God pulling me through this and giving me another chance with my son, I went from grateful back to resentful. Like, man, I'm half the man I used to be. I can't. If somebody wanted to go dancing or something, I know I walk with this limp. I can't run. I was a. It's weird to be not being able to know that you can't protect your family like you'd want to. Like if
Mm.
someone pushed me, I might fall over. I'm gonna hit somebody one time and then they might be able to whoop my ass. I don't know. That's never been my case before. So that was a huge thing as a man. And so I got really resentful
Yeah.
and kind of pissed off about it. And I'd have these weird things. And I went back to using drugs again because I didn't like my state. So I started using again. And then I'd be high and people would be like, tell them your story about your near death experience. I didn't even want people to talk to me about it because I was so
Yeah.
ashamed that I was back doing this again. And I'd be like, no, I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I started for a year. Every time I got high, because I was doing amphetamines hardcore, okay. And every time I get real high, I'd be like, I'm taking a shot. It's like playing Russian roulette. I can blow
Yeah.
any again. And I never enjoyed it. I could not enjoy it. And so one day, I had to go to the doctor, and I went for my every few months I had to go get a CT scan to make sure everything's cool.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't let me. They didn't want me to leave. They said a doctor needs to see you. And I guess I had some new bulges, and I was getting ready to blow again.
Wow.
And I didn't even stay for the doctor because I was so high at the time. And I was like, just tell him to call me. And I just took off and left. And they called me and like, you need to come back in here. Well, I just left my house, everything, and I came to my mom's and I crawled into her spare bedroom. And I told her that it's getting ready to rupture again and I'm in trouble. And anyways, I laid in bed and I prayed for 2 weeks. I'd get out to eat and I'd come back in and I just laid in there and I prayed and I prayed. And God touched me then again that day. And that was over 2 years ago. And realized that I got all the obsession and I worked through my stuff. I had to go through the grieving process and stuff, and I didn't know how I was handling it. And that's another thing about my whole story is that, you know, I still want to be like, I listen to these people and they're like, I turned my life over to Christ and all my joys and all my world turned around and everything's so wonderful. And I'm like, that didn't happen to me. I damn near died and I'm still going back to my old ways. What the hell's the
Yeah.
problem with me? Why can't I get that kind of spiritual awakening?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, sometimes, sometimes some of us have to go through a lot more pain to get to the
Yeah. The
to
best
what we were
thing
saying
I
earlier.
like to say,
More pain,
and
more gain.
yeah, like, when you sow a seed, it goes in the dark
Yes,
before it grows out into the light. So some of us do have to
yes,
unfortunately go through very dark periods of time in order to wake
yes,
up.
yeah.
So,
If you're willing to wake up though and go through that pain,
mm,
your soul and the beauty is so much stronger on that next chapter.
yeah,
You know.
exactly. And I want to switch
And
gears here. I want to talk to the
yeah,
viewers about our conversation that we had about energy. Did you want to talk about that?
yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about, what you did and what you figured out, and let's bring that up because I feel like it's really important for people to
Okay,
understand this. It's so much fun.
okay. Yeah. So my father was a master electrician, and we had a business when I was younger, before I got into the car business, and we ended up selling it when I was in my early 30s. Um, and I realized one day that, okay, so electricity, and I realized this is kind of like how I imagine how everything works, because everything from the micro to the macro in this world that we know of, it's all the same. It's weird how it all, like the thumbprint looks like the tree thumbprint, the
Yeah.
tree rings, so, all that stuff. Anyways, so I was thinking one day, um, that since we are energy, kind of like electricity. So if you want to make a circuit, like turn your light bulb on, you have to have a power source, and you have to have a ground or negative, right?
Mm.
To make that light up, and that creates a circuit. When you turn that circuit off, the power goes back to its power source. But if it's not turned off, or it goes to ground, it blows.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
that energy goes somewhere. So negative and ground, which I consider ground earth, which it is, that's what it means. You're going to
Mm.
ground, you're grounding to earth, and then the positive energy is your power source. So I look at that as like the creator God light is our power source. That's what we want to go to
Yeah.
when our switch is turned off. We don't want it to and go to ground,
Mm.
because that energy that's lighting up that bulb goes one place or the other. It goes back to its power source, or it goes to ground. Either way,
Yeah.
that's
And
my
how
concept.
incredible
That's
that
how I look
is. And so
at it.
in a
Yeah,
way, you as that energy, wherever you're positive or negative, need to be mindful of how you use your light, because that's
right,
what we were
right,
talking
right,
about, because where you use your light determines where that power goes when that switch goes off,
yeah,
right?
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. So and how you taint it. If you have just a bunch of bad energy, you're eventually going to go to ground. You
Yeah.
know, you have to. So, like, what's another reason that causes something to a search, like a switch or a light to go to ground or something? What will cause that? If your connections are corroded.
Yeah, that's
Think think
right.
about think about your battery. Your battery, your car won't start if the connections that go to the your batteries, which has the power source, and then the negative, which goes to ground, right?
Mm,
If those terminals are corroded, you go to ground. You won't start. So you have to
exactly.
keep your connections clean. That's your connection to your power source. You have to keep that on point and clean,
Oh,
and that
that's
is
so
through prayer.
beautiful.
That's through prayer. Prayer is the main connection. And like I said, your soul is that the emotion part of you, and the spirit is your connection to God.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. Our spirit is what we want to keep clean and good. Uh, and then the best way is through prayer, meditation, because prayer is your conversation, meditation is your answers
Yeah, because
to your
like you
prayers.
said, on the other side, there's no words. But if down here on this 3D realm, we use our words for good, then it has a really high frequency, I think.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
So
why I say when
prayer.
you go to heaven, there is no language in heaven, because no one needs to. You don't talk. Your mouth, there's no purpose for it.
So
So
beautiful.
you just start reading thoughts. So it's kind of like, thank God you can't read my thoughts right now, Natalie. You'd probably slap me. No, I'm just teasing. I'm messing with you.
I love the honesty. Love it.
No, but that's the truth, though. That's how I see it. So when we go there, you couldn't be deceitful if we all had telepathic
Telepathy. Yeah.
conversations, right?
Is there
And
thoughts
we knew
like
each
that
other's.
up there? What's the thought process up there? Like what you just said, I would slap you if I knew what you were thinking. Is there any of that up there? Or is that,
No, no, no. That's what I was saying. Like in my thing, you couldn't. When you looked into the light, in my experience, there was no way to look into this light with lust. The beauty had no lustful realm, so it was no like,
wow.
oh, she's hot. Look at, oh man, there's none of that. That's worldly. There was
Yeah.
nothing like that. It was beauty at a whole other realm. And so like I said, if you're communicating, we can only communicate through our eyes and through telepathy. There's no room for any kind of hidden agendas, alternative motives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
You have to be
Yeah.
completely authentic.
I wonder if that
So
black tarry place was a way to shed any and all human self also to be able to enter into that light world. Do you know what I mean? Because that can't enter into
that's
that
awesome.
realm. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I never really thought about it, but you could very well be. It could be like a cleansing that has to go there.
Yeah.
Wow, Natalie,
Right? Yeah. I
awesome.
just got the goosebumps too. How awesome. Spirit tingles is what Jeanette Byro calls it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That is the coolest thing ever. That is what it is. That's what that is. You had to,
Yeah.
I had to go, you had to go to that place to shed that, to
The
go on to the next
icky.
one.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh
I'm
my
so glad I could
God.
help. I ponder a lot. I think a lot. So yeah, I love these
That is the most
experiences.
powerful thing I've ever heard. I cannot wait to share that that
Yeah.
is so cool.
And it's almost like,
That even makes the fear of dying even less because you
yeah,
have to go there to get that off. But I felt like you could stay there if I
if
I
you
could have
so
stayed there,
chose,
but maybe
right?
not.
I was telling my neighbor,
If you didn't,
I was telling her, if
maybe you don't have enough. Maybe there's not enough good. If you don't, like we were talking about keeping your terminals clean, if
yeah,
they're so negative, you can't leave there because there's no
mm,
light to go or the goodness to go to the other spot. That could be.
yeah. And it's a good
Wow.
thing to think about, and if it resonates with you, then it's obviously something that's so true to you. But it's just an
Oh,
observation that
that.
I've had. And it's similar to the dark night of the soul. You have to go through the shit before you can
Yes.
release and let go to expand to a better person. So almost it's the macro to the micro. On the earthly world, we have the
Yes.
dark night of the soul. In the spirit world, it's the heavy black muck, tar energy. Yuck. So yeah, shed. Yeah.
Oh my God. You're awesome.
Well, Darren, is there anything that you could share with the viewers that could leave them with a positive note, like people who might be struggling the loss of a loved one, people who have had NDEs themselves and don't know how to talk about it? What's something positive you can leave us with to help them?
The positive thing is I truly believe we all come together again. This is an experience that's on an individual learning experience, but we do reunite with our tribe. Maybe that's all of us. Um, and our loved ones. Like I said, I can't say that I saw any of my loved ones, but I felt like my loved ones were there. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like all. I guess the best way I could say it is like we see our loved ones as individuals because it's an individual experience here that we're supposed to have with, I think, with our creator. But when we reunite, it's all collective again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So so yeah, we're all together. And but my thing is this is such a short period that we go through here. It's so short. It's just micro, and
Yeah.
the best thing we can do is show our the generation younger than us, our offspring, be the best people we can be, and enjoy every valuable moment we get with the ones we love here. I mean, just enjoy every valuable moment. And when you do lose somebody that you love, you can either be grateful for the time you have with them, or resentful for the time you don't get to have with them.
Yeah.
Because nothing's guaranteed. So you just got to be grateful for the time that you have. I mean, it's your choice how to look at it. It was just like my choice. Am I going to be resentful that I can't run and jump and do things like I used to? Or am I going to be grateful that I'm able to have a conversation with Natalie right now?
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to be grateful. And that's the beautiful thing of it all. It's how you want to lay your perspectives,
It truly is.
and
I want to thank you for
everything's a
being
learning
here.
experience.
I want to thank you for
Hell, I enjoyed
sharing your
it.
story. I really enjoyed it as well. And I enjoy our friendship. So, those of you watching, me and Darrin do talk quite a bit on Messenger. So, it has been a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And I've been waiting so long to talk with you. I've been so excited. And
Yeah. We can
yeah,
do any other topics again in the future if you want to.
yeah,
Because we'll
definitely.
hopefully we'll still talk, won't we, Natalie?
Yes,
We still gonna be
yes. You're my
okay.
main man. We're definitely going to keep talking. I love our
Okay,
conversations.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
in
cool.
saying
Well, if we
that,
get some good topics,
yeah, I was
huh?
gonna say if someone would like to reach out to you as well, did you want me to put on your Facebook or anything so other people can reach out to you?
Yeah, you can just put out my Facebook or my Messenger. My Messenger is the best way to pick me up because I don't really check my email and I don't know how to do all the other stuff. I'm not super computer savvy. Uh, so
Yeah.
if yeah, just give them. They can hit me up on my Messenger. Kind of like, isn't that how you found me? Was my Messenger?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I'll just
Yeah,
link your Facebook so if anyone wants to contact you, they can. But yeah, I would love to have you
yeah,
back. Like I love the conversations we have, law of attraction, the energy, the
yeah.
importance of love and who we really are. And I just love conversations like that because those are the
Okay,
conversations we should be having, not
right.
how's your new car
Absolutely.
or
Huh?
your new house or your fancy things. We want to talk about what's real because it's what's going to save us in
Yeah,
the end. So yeah.
yeah. I hate when people say, "How are you?" and you're like, "Oh, I'm good," because rarely are we good. That's just a quick
Yeah.
response.
I was just
But
having
not
that
everybody's really.
conversation. Yeah.
But not everybody's worthy to really hear your crap either. So, you
Yeah.
know, but
Exactly. So
but
find your
you,
tribe
if
and vibe.
that's right, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna be my new. You're my new. Well, you're not my new. You're my only. But you're my go-to for my aha moments because I have them very often. Okay,
Yeah.
so I might say, Natalie, I just had an aha moment. Check this out because I I go deep a lot,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
know
I
you
would
do
love
too.
that. Yeah, I do. I really
Okay.
do. And it's so needed today. And again, I want to
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. And we'll be seeing you again soon.